Hi everyone, and welcome to Nutmeg Notebook. I'm Tammy, and I am the creator of the blog and this YouTube channel called Nutmeg Notebook, where I share all about our whole food plant-based lifestyle. And we happen to be SOS free, which is salt, oil, and sugar free. So I'd really say we're really low sodium because, a lot of our foods that we eat have sodium in them naturally. We just don't add extra salt when we're cooking. So today I'm super excited to share with you about the things that I learned that helped me lose weight and maintain my weight loss since 2015. That's my husband, Tom. Oh. He went on and off. He's just
doing my sound checks.
He's helping get everything set up here last minute. There's always so many things that we can't do until right when we're going live.
Okay, we'll drop it down.
So we have our moderators that are helping us in the chat, and we love the interaction with our audience. And so please feel free to ask us questions. If you would preface the question in the chat with 4 question marks, then your question, and then an additional 4 question marks at the end. That just helps them pop out at Tom so he can pull the questions and ask. So, hi.
Hi, you talked about 4 question marks just now?
I just did.
Okay, great.
Yes. So I went plant-based in 2013 and was doing great until I became hypothyroid. And even after I went on medication, levothyroxine for that, I was having difficulty, even though I was using a whole food plant-based diet, I was having difficulty losing the weight that I gained when my thyroid was malfunctioning. And then I met Chef AJ, and all of that changed because she taught me all about the pleasure trap and calorie density and how to sequence my meals so that I could actually eat like twice as much food for half the amount of calories. And that's how I ended up being able to get back to a healthy weight that I have maintained since 2015. So that's 5 years. That's pretty remarkable because I have a history of yo-yo dieting for my entire adult life. And if you want to know all about that, we've got a video all about that. But I do want to show you a couple of my before pictures.
I'm going to go get behind the camera so we can be looking at stuff here.
Okay, Tom's going to get behind the camera. So thank you to our moderators for being here. So this is going to be kind of a busy day for Tom. So this is what I looked like at my highest weight. I weighed about 174, 75 pounds then. And that I was not a happy camper because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And so I really did not enjoy the fact that I could not control my weight. And my appetite just felt like it was completely out of control. I could not eat a lot of things in moderation and, like sweets and high-fat foods. And I would eat those things, and then that would just like be a huge trigger for me to want to binge on them, which I did because, I was obviously eating a lot of calories to get to this size. So I am much happier being the size I am today. And I ended up losing 49 pounds. I'm going to say 45 to 49 because, my weight fluctuates sometimes by about 5 or 6 pounds. So, and I'm at my heavier side right now. I'm eating more desserts lately. And so I'm doing this for you as well as myself right now because I just need to rein it in a little bit. And going over this will help me as much as I hope that it helps you too. So I'm first going to talk to you all about calorie density. And how many of you have Chef AJ's book, The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss? In her book, she talks all about calorie density, and she explains to you what it is and how to use it to your advantage. There is also a calorie density chart, and it is on the back of the book, and I'm going to be talking a lot about the calorie density chart. Tom, you're looking for something, honey?
I'm looking for your phone. I need a...
There you go.
I need a monitor.
Okay, he's looking for something. He kept walking back and forth, and he was looking at me but not saying anything. So I'm going to be talking a lot about the calorie density chart. You may want to get a pen and paper because you might want to take notes. Of course, this will be recorded and it will immediately go on our YouTube channel so you can watch it again. And but if you have her book, you might want to pull it out and look at the calorie density chart, or you can Google calorie density chart online and you can find one. And even hers can be found like on Pinterest. So just so you can kind of follow along. And then we did print one that I can show you on camera that would be bigger as well. Right over here. You want me to hold it up? Here we go. This is the calorie density chart. I wanted Tom to be able to put one in the show notes, but it doesn't allow you to put pictures in the show notes. So he couldn't do that. So I do apologize that we weren't able to provide you with one. And if I had known that we couldn't do that ahead of time, I would have put one on Facebook so you could have seen it. But that's how things go. All right. So her book, I highly recommend if you're struggling to lose weight or maintain your weight, or you just have those last 5 or 10 pounds to lose. This is a great resource. Her entire program is outlined in the book, and it's fantastic. Also, she introduced me to Dr. Doug Lisle, and this book, The Pleasure Trap. Oh my gosh, if I had known this stuff, you guys, when I was 17, it would have saved me over 40 years of yo-yo dieting. So The Pleasure Trap, I highly recommend. It's an awesome book. Tom has linked to the book for our Amazon store down below in the show notes. So these two books are my little kitchen Bibles. And also Dr. McDougall, in his Maximum Weight Loss Program book, he also talks about calorie density in this. And it's also the principles that they teach at the True North Health Center in Santa Rosa. And a number of the plant-based doctors recommend following calorie density. So I hope you guys are ready to learn about this. And this is a presentation that I do in a longer format when we teach our weight loss classes. And since we haven't been able to do those because of the pandemic and we had our cruise and all that, I'm a little rusty on it. So I have got my notes here because I don't want to forget to tell you anything about it. So calorie density is, it's science-based. So this is not like a fad diet type thing. And Dr. Barbara Rolls is credited to really bringing it to the forefront. She is a scientific researcher and doctor from Penn State. And she has a laboratory at Penn State that's like, it's like a kitchen laboratory where they study eating habits of human beings, which is pretty fantastic. So she discovered that everyone eats approximately between 3 and 5 pounds of food every day on average. So one day you might eat a little more, one day you might eat a little less, but on average we eat the same amount of food. Now that varies from person to person. Now I know when I post my food on Instagram, what I eat in a day, either on Instagram or on my Facebook page, some people will say, oh, I could never eat that amount of food. That's okay, because the amount of food that I need is going to be different than the amount of food that you need. And the amount of food that I eat versus the amount of food that Tom eats is different. He's a man, he has a higher metabolism, always has, than I do, and he eats more food in a day than I do. But I eat a pretty fair amount. I would say that I probably eat about 3 to 4 pounds of food depending on the day, because my lunch salad is that big 1 pound of salad, and after I chop it, I add a ton more things to it, and so it ends up weighing about 2.5 pounds, because we did weigh them one time just to find out. And then I have my dinner, which I'm sure is like another pound of food. So, and that is about what I eat per day. And some days a little more, some days a little less. So what Dr. Rolls found out is that people eat the same amount of pounds of food on average per day, regardless of the calorie count. So isn't that interesting? So calorie density is merely the amount of calories for a set amount of food. So today I'm going to be talking to you about calorie density for 1 pound of food. And we're going to talk about different food groups and what their calorie density is. So Dr. Rolls also discovered that the feeling of fullness that we call satiety is not simply based on calorie content, which, you know, people used to say a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. Well, guess what? When it comes to weight loss and feeling full, that is not true. It's also based on the volume and the weight of food and how much room it takes up in our stomach. So that's where calorie density is going to start coming into play. And she also discovered that when you have water combined with the food, that it makes it more filling. You get more satiety from it. Now that doesn't mean that you can take, you know, a bunch of air fried food and then drink water with it. It doesn't work that way. It has to, the food and the water have to be combined, either in a broth-based soup or in the form of fresh fruits and vegetables will also help. And it allows you to eat more calories, or I mean, it allows not more calories, it allows you to eat more food for less calories, which is really great if you're a volume eater like I am. Now, food varies in caloric density from 100 calories all the way up to 4,000 calories. So there's a 40-fold difference. So what we choose to eat for that 3 to 5 pounds of food we want to eat every day has a huge impact on our ability to either lose weight or maintain our weight loss. Okay, so once you understand this, you guys are going to see that you can eat a lot more food for weight loss than you probably ever have before. So the first category on the calorie density food chart is 100 calories per pound, and that is for non-starchy vegetables. And so that is going to be like this bowl of beautiful vegetables that I have here. So, and this is the non-starchy vegetables. So you can Google non-starchy vegetables and you can see that there will be literally hundreds of vegetables that you can choose from. And this will be the lowest calorie density food that we can eat. And these are full of water and they're also full of fiber. And one of the things that Barbara Rolls' team discovered is that we get more satisfaction from food that we have to chew. And of course, because this is so full of fiber and has tons of water, it takes a lot of time to chew this. And so just that act of chewing will slow down how fast you can consume your calories. That in itself helps with you eating less, and you get a lot of satisfaction just from the act of chewing. Plus, we know from different studies that it takes about 20 minutes from the time you start eating before your brain says, oh my gosh, you know, maybe we're full. And so this helps because it's going to really help you slow down. Now, there are certain things that botanically are actually fruits, but they oftentimes will show up on the non-starchy vegetable charts. And that's going to be things like tomatoes and cucumbers, eggplant, okra, bell peppers, and zucchini. Now those actually have about 67 calories per pound, but we're doing averages. So because, you know, some other things are higher, a little bit higher calories. So we're just doing an average. Non-starchy vegetables, 100 calories per pound. Then the next category is fruit, and that is the 300 calorie per pound. Now here again, there's some variation in the calories per pound of fruit because those botanical fruits that I just talked about are 67 calories per pound. Berries are also lower calorie density than something like pineapple or bananas. The tropical fruits are sweeter and they have more calories per pound, but we're just doing an average. And so, because we're not going to get hung up on every little fruit or every little vegetable, we are just going to learn about the categories. And so for fruit, we're going to say on average, they're about 300 calories per pound. They offer natural sweetness. So if you have a sweet tooth, then let your dessert be fruit because it's naturally sweet. It's full of fiber. It's full of water. So the absorption of the glucose into your bloodstream is really slowed down because of the fiber and the water. And so you won't have that big sugar rush that you would from eating a brownie, let's say. And it's very satisfying and it's very filling. Now, if you're just coming to a whole food plant-based diet from the standard American diet and you're used to eating a lot of high calorie density foods and a lot of processed sugar and high fat desserts, is the fruit going to satisfy you initially? Probably not, because you have to give yourself some time to neuroadapt, and then you'll get to the point where sometimes even pineapple will be too sweet. I know you're laughing, you don't think that's possible, but it really does happen. Okay, now let's move on. We are moving to the 400 to 600 calorie per pound category. And this is going to be our unrefined complex carbohydrates. Tom was shaking his head because he knew I said the wrong thing. Okay, and this is what Dr. McDougall calls our starch. So a whole food plant-based diet is great. Fruits and vegetables are fantastic, but they are so low calorie density that they are not going to stick with you for hours and hours and keep you full. So you have to include starch. Starch and unrefined carbohydrates have gotten a bad rap, but that's not because of what they are to begin with. It's because of what people put on them. So, potato are the most eaten food that Americans eat as far as vegetables go, but they don't eat them in a healthy way. They eat them deep fat fried as French fries. And so it's not that the potato is bad, but all that oil that they're fried in is bad, or they're slathering butter and sour cream and cheese and bacon bits on them. That makes them bad. So we need to have the starch because the starch is what gives us energy and it's what gives us satiety. It's what's going to hold us to the next meal. So you need to have a little bit of starch at every meal or a whole lot of starch if that's what you prefer, and it will fill you up. I was so excited when I started Chef AJ's program in 2015, that first week, because I got to have potatoes. And I almost cried the first time I sat down with a big old potato stuffed with beans, corn, salsa, and fresh cilantro because it was so satisfying. I actually got to have like this huge meal that was so filling. And I love starch. I love potatoes. We just need to do it in an unrefined way. So the categories within that, because I was saying it's a 400 to 600 calorie range. So, and we're just learning about food groups. We're not all the little individual exactly how much is everything. Okay, so at 500 calories per pound, we have the whole grains. So that's going to be things like these are oat groats. And I have a video all about how to make oat groats. This is what oatmeal comes from, is oat groats. And to make the rolled oats, they take and steam these and cut them and roll them out. But this is the whole oat groat. And I just made a pot of these today. I absolutely love them. I like them more than brown rice even, but whatever you choose. It could be quinoa, which is technically a seed, but everybody puts it in the starch category. Or it could be millet. Or I'm gluten-free, but if you do gluten, you know, it could be barley. It could be, you know, all different kinds of grains, whatever you like. And the less refined they are, the more whole they are, the better for you, because they're more filling. You know, brown rice versus white rice. Brown rice has a little more fiber, it's a little more filling. But, you know, if you like white rice, don't feel bad about eating white rice. Okay, in the 600 calories per pound are going to be legumes. So all kinds of legumes. So it can be split peas, it can be lentils, it can be beans, whatever you like. These are super filling. And here's the thing about these. We cook them in water, right? And so they soak up the water and they expand. And so then they become even more filling because they have a lot of water. You put them in a soup, in a broth-based soup with some vegetables, and you reduce the calorie density of your meal even greater. And it's so satisfying. I don't know about you guys, but I love soup. And we eat soups all summer long because I still love some chili over a baked potato or some lentil soup. I love Indian food, and I'll eat those hot dishes all summer long. Let's see, I lost my count. Oh, and then of course, did I talk about potatoes? I did at the beginning. Potatoes, winter squash. That's a wonderful, this is my favorite. That's a wonderful starch to have. This is a kabocha squash, and it's totally amazing. Butternut squash, Hubbard, whatever you have that you can get. I know they're kind of hard to find right now. I was lucky to find one at Whole Foods. Sweet potatoes. We love our sweet potatoes. I eat a Japanese sweet potato every day. These we just bought, and I didn't even have time to wash them. Look how filthy they are. But these are so delicious. Tom's laughing at me. And they're so satisfying. So include a wide variety of starches in your diet because they're very satisfying, very filling. Take your 1 pound of salad or however much you make, or your steamed vegetables, and add a little bit of starch to it, whether it's in the form of some squash, some potatoes, a grain, or some legumes. Are we having questions yet, Tom? Mm-hmm. Okay, so all of these foods here are in the 600 calorie and under categories on the calorie density chart. And if you look at Chef AJ's calorie density chart, she has drawn a red line there. And what she says is eat to your heart's desire to the left of the red line of all of these foods. And if you keep your calories to 600 calories per pound or less, you should be able to eat ad libitum, which means you just eat until you feel satisfied. Eat to satiation. Not like Thanksgiving dinner where you're stuffed. You just eat until you are comfortably full, and you should be able to lose weight. And once you get to your healthy weight, you should be able to maintain that weight eating these foods. Now we're going to talk about the foods that go to the right of that red line as well. So in the first one, in the first category to the right is avocado. And avocados are wonderful, and they're a healthy food. They are about 300 calories for an average avocado and about 30 grams of fat. And a serving of an avocado is 1/5. Have you ever been able to cut open an avocado and eat 1/5 of an avocado? Well, I can say that my granddaughter does that, but I don't know that I have the ability to do that at home. I don't generally eat avocado at home, but when we eat out, I'll have some because it's in a controlled setting and I'm getting a small quantity, maybe on a salad or on some tacos at a vegan restaurant. So it's very calorically dense compared to the other foods. It is a very healthy food. But if you are trying to lose weight, it's a good idea to just not have avocado for a while and see if that makes a difference for you. So Dr. Oliveira from UC Davis, she's the head over there, integrative medicine. Chef AJ has interviewed her twice, all about fat and women trying to lose weight. And I highly recommend that you look up those 2 videos that she did with Chef AJ, because she talks all about how women who have yo-yo dieted have to eat about 25% fewer calories in order to maintain their weight compared to someone else who's the same age, same height, and same weight who has never yo-yo dieted. So, and I know for me that that is very true. And so I really limit the higher fat foods and the higher calorie density foods, because now that I'm a smaller size, I actually need fewer calories just to do my basic things every day. And so I don't have room in my calories, my daily calories, for a lot of high fat foods, because 1/5 of this, or I could have, you know, a large quantity of fruits or vegetables. And I would rather have the larger quantity of food because I find it more satisfying. So avocado is healthy, yes. If you can eat it and still lose weight, more power to you. That's great. And if you can eat it and maintain your weight, and I know a lot of people can, and Tom's one of those people, that's fantastic. And I say, you know, go for it. So that's avocado. The next category is the 1200 to 1800 calorie density, and that is refined complex carbohydrates. And in that category, we're going to have ice cream, and that is vegan ice cream or regular ice cream. That is, we're not talking about the homemade in the Vitamix or your Yonanas. We're talking about the purchased, processed, that's full of unhealthy ingredients, and it's just too calorically dense to eat if you're trying to lose weight, or for some of us who are trying to maintain our weight. So that's at 1200 calories. The 14 to 1500 calories per pound is bread and flour products. Now, first of all, when you take a whole grain, let's say like oat groats, and you process it and turn it into a flour, you completely change the caloric density of it, and it increases substantially. It also has a much bigger impact on your brain and on the dopamine hit that you get when you eat something that's highly processed. And then it hijacks your brain, and your brain says, oh, that was really good. Let's have more of that because I got a real big dopamine hit from that and I want more. That's where it comes into play of having difficulty eating certain foods in moderation. And I know for myself that that is very true. It's very hard for me to moderate things that are made with flour. Plus, bread has usually a very high sodium content, and a lot of times it has oil added to it, which helps increases the calorie density of it. So if you're trying to lose weight, you might, if you're having difficulty, you might want to avoid bread and flour products. At 1600 calories per pound is cheese. Now, if you're watching me, you probably are not eating the standard American diet and you're probably not eating cheese. But when you look at the packages of the vegan cheese and see what's in those and what the fat content is, you can calculate how much calories per pound the cheese is. And guess what? It's going to be right up there, right with the dairy cheese, because they usually add a lot of oil, or they're using cashews or almonds to make the cheese, and it also has a lot of sodium in it. Then at 1800 calories in the refined carbohydrates, we have sugar. So, you know, they'll take something that's super healthy like beets, but they'll take and process it and turn it into a processed sugar, beet sugar, and they've taken out all the fiber and all the water, and then all you're left with is calories and no nutrition. So we also avoid processed sugar. Again, if you want something sweet, go for the fruit, because the fruit has all the fiber and the water intact, and it's going to fill you up. It's not going to fill you out, and it's not going to make you crave eating more and more and more. Okay, how we doing, Tom?
We're doing good.
Okay, good.
Where are you at on your notes?
Okay, so well, the next category is 2,500 calories per pound, and it's a favorite item of a lot of women, but some men too, and that happens to be chocolate. And so the problem with chocolate is that it is usually served up with sugar and fat. And that combo, you know, is something that people really love and they crave, and it's just really not friendly for losing weight. So if you want to have the flavor, you know, you can make my brownies, which use a little bit of cacao powder, and I use dates to sweeten them. And so with the dates, although they are very high calorie, they at least have the fiber and the water and all the nutrients intact. So chocolate is not great for weight loss, and it's not great for some of us for maintenance either. But you have to know yourself and know what your limits are. Then the next category is 2,800 calories, and that involves nuts, seeds, nut butters, and tahini. So those are 2,800 calories per pound. And the problem with those, if you can eat a small amount and keep it in control, that's great. But some of us find that those high fat foods are a trigger food. And so it makes us want to eat more. And so for a lot of people, it's difficult to have peanut butter or almond butter in the house, or almonds. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about that later. Tom will tell you about his almond story. And so that is not a good food for most people for weight loss. And for some of us, it's not good for maintenance if you have trouble moderating how much of them that you're going to eat, because we're hardwired to seek out the highest calorie density food in our environment for the least amount of effort. That you'll learn about in the Pleasure Trap book. And so that's why some people say if they have ice cream in the house, that they just feel like the ice cream's calling them all the time, even if it's vegan ice cream. And that's because your brain wants you to get that high calorie food, because it thinks that we're still in a time of famine, and that at any moment, you know, you might run out of food. And so you should stock up now, you know, for the future in case you can't get some food in a couple of weeks. Well, we don't have that problem. We have the opposite problem, because we have food available everywhere we go, and most of it is not healthy food. So, and then the last calorie category is 4,000 calories per pound, and that happens to be oil. All oils, even coconut oil, even extra virgin olive oil, all oils are 4,000 calories per pound. And we also know that they're not healthy for our heart. They damage the endothelial cells. There's lots of information in the plant-based community about that. You can just go on YouTube and Google Dr. Esselstyn and oil, and you'll find some wonderful videos that he has made talking about why we want to avoid oil. And I also want to say we also, even though we're plant eaters and coconut oil is a plant, it is saturated fat. And that's not good for people like me who have issues with their LDL cholesterol. So that is pretty much the basics about calorie density. And here's what I want you to think about. So remember that Barbara Rolls says that we eat between 3 and 5 pounds of food a day on average. So let's say that I eat 3 pounds of food a day. And let's say that I'm eating some things from the right of the red line. And so my average calories per pound that I'm consuming is about 2,000 calories per pound because I'm eating a lot of nut butters or nuts, and I'm eating 3 pounds of food a day. And so then if my average of what I'm eating is 2,000 calories per pound, then I'm consuming about 6,000 calories a day. Well, at my height and my weight, I cannot consume that. I would have to be like running all day, and I still wouldn't be able to burn off that many.
You could achieve a pound and a half of weight gain per day doing that.
Yes.
Since your body burns 1,500, and then you'd have a surplus left.
That's right. So, and there, if you go online, if you Google how to determine what your basic caloric intake for the day should be, if you're just doing nothing, there are some calculators online that are free to use where you can plug in your height, age, and weight, and it will tell you that if you did nothing, if you just stayed in bed all day, what the minimum requirement of calories would be for you. So I only need about 1,800 calories per day. And so if I'm eating 3 pounds of food, then I need to be at the 600 or under calorie density per pound foods in order to maintain my weight. So, and I think once I learned that, then the light bulb went off for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
The light bulb went on.
I mean, on. Yeah, that light bulb went on.
Your light bulb's still on, sweetie.
I hope it is.
You want me to check your light bulb?
Will you check my light bulb? The light bulb went on
Make
for
sure
me.
it's all the way screwed into the socket.
Yeah,
Okay.
the light bulb went on for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And so I'm very happy being able to eat all of these foods and to be able to have 3 to 4 pounds of food a day, because that's what makes me not feel deprived. Because I think when people think about losing weight, they don't want the deprivation because they don't want to feel hungry. They don't want to sit down to a tiny little plate of food. And we also, I never want to have to weigh and measure my food again. I did Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig, and I did all of those diets. And I was obsessed about food all the time.
You don't want to know how many points that peach is worth there?
I don't even care. I just know that I could eat, if I want it, I can eat it.
Okay.
And that is just so freeing. So, so think about that. Think about, like I've never actually weighed all the food that I eat in a day, but maybe we should do that as an experiment. That could be interesting. Mm-hmm. But think about if you're eating 3 to 5 pounds of food a day. Think about which categories most of your calories are coming from, and you could actually calculate what your calorie density average is for the day. And if you are stuck, not able to lose weight right now, what Dr. Barbara Roll says, what Dr. Goldhammer from True North Health Center, what Dr. Lisle say is eat more non-starchy vegetables. So and Dr. McDougall says, make half of your plate non-starchy vegetables. Then the other half can be fruit and starch. And if you do that, you will lose weight. And the way that we eat to lose weight is also the way that most of us need to eat in order to maintain our weight. People ask me all the time, once you lost your weight, did you start adding more food back in? No, because I weigh less. I need less calories at my lower weight. So the way I make up for that deficit is I eat a lot of low calorie density foods because they fill me up. They taste amazing. I mean, look at the beautiful color that we have here. And I don't feel deprived, and I never go hungry. I never go hungry. So, and I love that. Okay, so now we're going to switch these things out and bring some of that stuff up.
I'm going to go around and move that over. Before we pull all of this off the table here,
yes,
this is our grocery cart. This is a portion of our grocery haul. This is what comes, we buy enough potatoes and everything else to last us each week. Our run is on Thursday or Friday typically. So, and we do get comments at the checkout sometimes. People, are seeing all this stuff go by and they say, wow.
Wow, you guys eat really healthy.
Yeah. And, add some cans, no salt added tomatoes and a couple cartons of almond milk and that sort of thing. And you've got,
This is what we eat.
What we buy. So this is this week's veggie haul.
Yeah, this is what we eat.
So I'm going to go around.
Okay, and we'll move this over, and then I'm going to show you some comparisons of foods. And I gave you a tray there, honey. And I'll move this, maybe make it go faster.
Well, while I'm moving stuff, maybe since you're eating all the salads, there was a question about what dressing do you put on the salads before we take away the non-starchy. What do you put in all these non-starchy vegetables?
Leave this one. I'll let you take that. So for salad dressing, I came up with a creamy balsamic dressing. The recipe is on the blog. I also have a YouTube video on how to make it, and it's, what is that? That's off of the pineapple.
Is there any order on these?
And it is made with, no, you can just bring them over. It's made with beans instead of nuts to keep the calorie density of it lower. And it's absolutely delicious. And people tell me all the time that they feed it to their family who eats the standard American diet, and everybody loves it, and nobody knows that it's made with beans. We even had a local vegan restaurant here that was making it prior to the pandemic. They were making it and offering it as a no oil option for people. So that's the hardest thing about eating out, is trying to get no oil options. We're very fortunate here in Northern California that we have some restaurants that have some vegan restaurants that have been very accommodating to help us have no oil options on their menus. So what it takes is people going in and asking. So we even have a little Asian restaurant close here that has the Tami's plate. They said they're going to have to put it on the menu because so many people are coming in and asking for it now. And it's simply brown rice with steamed vegetables, and then they make a little.
Which restaurant?
It's Vegan Pho in Rockland, and we get takeout from there right now because they have stayed open through the pandemic. But it's steamed vegetables, and they make a sauce for me out of just no fat vegetable broth and a little bit of cornstarch, and then they put that over brown rice for me. And you can just ask them for the Tami's vegetable plate, and they'll know exactly what it is. They have it in their computer now, but they need to put it on the menu, they said, because they're getting so many requests for it now. So now I want to talk to you about how the foods that we choose make us feel full or not. I'm going to have a sip of water.
What's in your water?
All this talking.
People say it's pretty.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I have a few blueberries, and then I have some watermelon that Tom cut up today, and I have some fresh mint. And before I put the mint in, I just kind of rub it together in my fingers to activate the oils on it so that the flavor of the mint will come out in the water.
Where'd you get the mint?
I got the mint from our Aero garden. We're growing our own mint in the kitchen. It's so exciting. So I like to just make that water, and then I can just keep adding to it all day, and it's super refreshing. Okay, so here's a little more information that kind of goes with the calorie density. So our stomach holds about a liter of food. Now this is a 1 quart jar, and a liter is about 4.22 cups of food. So about what would fill to the top of this jar plus about another quarter of a cup is the capacity that the average stomach has. So think about that. This is what we're trying to fill. Now, what Barbara Rolls discovered is that we need to activate the stretch receptors in our stomach when we eat in order for the signal to go to the brain to tell us, oh, we've had enough food. Our stomach is full. And so when you don't eat enough volume to do that, you keep eating because your brain isn't getting the signal. Even if you've had, let's say, 400 calories of a nut butter, this little tiny bit is 400 calories of nut butter. This is not going to activate the stretch receptors in your stomach to tell you that you're full, even though you have consumed 400 calories. And I'm going to say about 36, 38 grams of fat in this. That's a lot. However, if I eat 400 calories of potatoes, it's going to activate my stretch receptors and I'm going to feel full. You see that? Versus this. So I just think, the visual is like, what? This is 400 calories of maple syrup. Innocent, we think it's healthy. Maybe you're going to make a salad dressing.
We have maple syrup here somewhere?
We did. We did. For Sweet Pea, her pancakes. She gets a little drizzle.
Not for me.
Not for you. He was like, we have maple syrup. Where do you keep it? Well, it's in the garage fridge for a reason. Because we don't use it very often. But that's 400 calories. Is that going to fill you up? And we know, Barbara Rold says, it doesn't matter the fat content or the calorie count. It is how much water, how much fiber, and how much volume does it take up in our stomach. So you might think, well, I'm just going to, have a little bit of it. Well, your body doesn't even register that you had that 400 calories. Let me see. What do I want to show you now? This is 400 calories of almonds. Same thing. That's 400 calories. Easy to eat that or double that. Very easy to eat 800 to 1200 calories of almonds in a sitting. And this is not going to activate the stretch receptors.
And
But
that's why I actually had Tami stop buying these. Well, I was buying them at Costco in the big bag because I would eat them, I guess I would say like popcorn. Mm-hmm. And I would probably eat twice that many in a sitting while we were watching a movie. Maybe 3 times if I was eating unconsciously. So yeah, I was getting an extra bonus 1,000 calories a day of unconscious almonds. So
which resulted in?
So I 10 pounds of weight gain over the course of like 3 or 4 months. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So instead of unconscious calories, I now make a conscious choice to not buy them.
That's right.
While we're at Costco.
Or you can have 400 calories of Japanese sweet potatoes, which would really fill up your stomach and make you full. And these are much healthier than these as well. Nothing wrong with almonds. They are healthy, but they're very high fat. Now, it's kind of controversial, but Dr. McDougall says the fat you eat is the fat you wear. That's not true for everyone. We're all different. It is definitely true for me. Now, here's one for you. This is 400 calories of golden raisins. Here is 400 calories of grapes. I couldn't even get all 400 calories of grapes. There was about 20 of them that I couldn't even get in the jar. So which one is going to make you feel fuller? Absolutely, we're going to go for the grapes rather than the raisins. The thing with the raisins is, although they do still have the fiber, the water is gone. So when you dehydrate foods, you increase the calorie density substantially. Look at the difference. Plus there'd be 20 more of them if I had all of them, all 400 calories here. So that makes a huge difference. I would much rather have a big bowl of grapes than a small amount of dried fruit. Now here's 400 calories of garbanzo beans. That combined with some vegetables, which I have these often on my salads, is going to make you very full. This is 400 calories of brown rice. This is short grain organic brown rice. And it's about 2 cups. That added with some vegetables is going to make you very full. Or you could pour soup over it, which would reduce the calorie density even more because you probably wouldn't want 2 cups with your broth-based soup. And then this is 400 calories worth of rolled oats. Now the thing about rolled oats is they are a healthy grain. They don't have as much, they're not intact as much as the oat groats. But the great thing about them is if you cook them with water, they're going to expand and you're going to have a bigger volume of them, which is going to help to activate your stretch receptors in your stomach and make you full. So when we take something that's dried and we cook it like our beans, our lentils, or our grains, and we cook them in water and allow them to absorb the water, then we know that they are going to be more satiating and they're going to activate those stretch receptors. Now the thing about oats is to remember that about 20% of the calories come from fat with oats. If you don't know about that, look, if you buy them in a package that has nutritional information, look at that. So if you're trying to lose weight, for some people, oats can be a trigger to eat more because they have a little bit higher fat content. So just be cautious about that. And if it seems like they're a trigger for you to consume more, then maybe try having something else for a while instead of the oats. It can make a difference for some people. And then the apples. I could not fit the apples, of course, in a jar. But here is 400 calories worth of apples. And, you know, super filling because we have the water and the fiber is all intact and we're going to have to chew those. And then I just want to show you a little thing that I heard Dr. Barbara Rolls talk about. Here's that little bit of 400 calories right there. I heard her talk about this. She was talking about an experiment that they did in the laboratory at Penn State. So they cooked dinner for people, but before they gave them dinner, they had some people eat an apple. They had some people drink some apple juice, and they had some people eat some applesauce. Well, they made their own applesauce from the same type of apples that they had people just take an apple and eat. And here's what happened. The people who drank the juice, it had no effect on their appetite, and they ate the same amount of food. When they ate an apple before they had dinner, they ate 20% fewer calories because the apple was full of water and fiber and started to fill up their stomachs. When they ate the applesauce, which was still good, it's just, you know, applesauce, you still get some of the fiber, it's broken down for you, but you have removed a lot of the water. When they ate the applesauce, they ate slightly less, but not a measurable amount. And so eat the whole food because the whole food has the fiber and the water, and they know for sure that it makes a big impact on how many calories.
The net effect was the apple had minus calories, negative calorie impact on the eating habit.
Well, pretty much. She didn't say that though. She didn't say that. She just said that they ate about 20% fewer calories when they ate an apple before they had their dinner. So, so I think that's remarkable too. Then I wanted to show you that this is one 1 pound of food. This is, I could eat all of this for 100 calories. I could eat this because the greens, it takes a lot of greens to make a pound of food. A lot of greens. So, or you could, this is 400 calories here. So you could have all of this, or you could have this little bit of almonds. And what is going to make you more full? I mean, there is no way that I could eat all of this at one sitting. It would just be ridiculous to be able to do that. Okay, so now I'm ready for questions. Oh, and I was going to show you this. So this is something that I do. I will every 4 days or so, I will just take a whole bunch of vegetables like in this bowl or this bowl, and I will just water saute them in my big scan pan on top of the stove. So I always start with an onion and some fresh mushrooms. And once those start to get nicely sauteed, and if you don't have the fire up too hot to begin with, they will release their water and you won't even have to add any water to them. And I'll get those really cooking nicely. And then I'll add some carrots and some broccoli, slaw, and spinach, and whatever I have. Bell peppers this time. I did have carrots. I had zucchini and yellow squash, and I had the sugar snap peas. And then I buy the power greens at Costco, and I'll throw those in, and then I'll put the lid on it and let it create its own steam so that it steams the greens. And I make sure that I don't cook them to the point that everything's limp. I still want everything to be a little bit al dente. Did you hear that? So I just don't want everything to be overcooked. And then I divide it up into these little containers. And I'll do about 4 pounds of veggies in my big scan pan, and then I'll divide them up into 4 different containers. So I know I started with about 1 pound for each container. And then this makes a wonderful breakfast. You can have this for breakfast, and then you can add some starch to it if you want to. And it also makes a wonderful side dish with my dinner. And it's just nice way to get in more non-starchy vegetables. And so we're going to talk about sequencing our food. And the way we want to sequence our food when we eat is we want to start with the non-starchy vegetables first. So something like this. The lowest calorie density foods first, because these still have water. They're full of fiber. They're going to activate my stretch receptors in my stomach, and they're going to help me feel full. And I'm going to eat that before I go for the Japanese sweet potato or the Yukon Golds, or what happened to the rice? Did you take my rice?
Was I not supposed to?
Oh, here it is. You didn't take it. Or the rice, because these are higher calorie density foods. So if I'm trying to lose weight, I'm wanting to eat more of the non-starchy vegetables. Start with those first, because if I start eating the rice first, or I start with the potatoes first, I am not going to go back and eat all of those vegetables, because my brain is going to say, oh, that's good, keep eating that. That's really good. And so you want to start with the lowest calorie density foods first and then build up. Barbara Rold said that they also discovered that if people started their meal with like a brothy soup, they ended up eating less overall calories for the meal. And so remember that. Eat your lower calorie density foods first, and then go for the higher calorie density foods. So Tom and I discovered that that was really important when we got our air fryer. When we first got it, I was making French fries like every day because, oh man, they were so good. So I would take our cold Yukon Gold baked potatoes that I would batch cook, and I would cut them into fries, and I would air fry them. And you know, it makes a big tray, so I would just fill the tray, and we would sit down and we would start eating those, and we would eat them all gone before we would eat anything else on our plate because they were so good. Well, pretty soon my pants were getting tight, and I got on the scale and I had gained 5 pounds. And so I was talking to Chef AJ and I was like, I have gained 5 pounds. And she says, well, what are you doing? And we got to talking. I was like, oh, we're making French fries in our air fryer. And she was like, and how many are you eating? And I said, oh, well, we're eating I'm making a whole tray of them. And she said, no. You take however many ounces of potatoes, let's say, that you would normally eat at a meal, and you make that amount into fries, and you start eating your low calorie density foods first, and you save the fries for last. And so the next time that I made fries, we both did that. We sat down and we ate the salad. We had salad and vegetables first. We ate that first, and we did not have enough room then to eat all of the French fries that I made. So it really works. We've put it to the test, and yes, I did lose the 5 pounds by sequencing how I was eating. And I knew that. I just needed to be reminded. So the dehydrator is great. The air fryer is great. But just know that when you take the water out of the food, even though the fiber is still there, you are upping the calorie density of it. And so you need to be cautious with that. We still use our air fryer all the time. I air fry a Japanese sweet potato for my lunch usually every day. And I don't gain weight from it because I only air fry the size that I normally would eat. So that also has made a really big difference. So try to make that plate of yours be half non-starchy vegetables. Eat the non-starchy vegetables first, and then move on to the higher calorie density food, whether it's your beans, your grains, your potatoes, your fruit. Okay, I'm ready for questions, Tom.
Okay.
And I'm going to take a drink. I feel like I've been blah, 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 blah.
Here's your phone. I'm going to scroll back up to the ways here.
Okay.
And
So what do you guys think about calorie density and sequencing? Did you learn anything new? And, there's lots of other videos out there as well about calorie density. I just wish somebody would have told me about this years ago, because once I learned it, it made so much sense. And I realized, oh my gosh, it's really simple. I'm not saying that it's easy to incorporate all of this. It takes time to do it, but the concept is very simple. Eat low calorie density foods first.
okay.
Eat most of them.
So-
I'm going to grab my chair and sit down for
Okay.
a minute.
At the beginning of the program, towards the beginning, Anonymous65 asked, do you make smoothies? Since we've had all this discussion of all of this food, but you didn't talk about making smoothies, which a
Yeah.
lot of other sites do.
Yeah, so, the doctors that I follow do not promote the use of smoothies. Smoothies are a very easy way to consume a lot of calories very quickly because you're not chewing. And Barbara Rolls discovered that chewing helps us feel satiety. So, they're a really great way to get a lot of calories in children. Our daughter makes smoothies for our 3 grandchildren because you can put some higher calorie foods in them, like high fat foods that kids need for brain development, like avocado and nuts and seeds and flax and chia, that kind of thing. The problem with them is that most people are making their smoothies with a lot of fruit, and so it becomes a very sweet thing, and because it's already very processed, it may raise your glucose more quickly.
They're just too easy.
So they're probably not optimal for weight loss. They're also very great for older people who maybe have trouble chewing their food. Because remember, Barbara Rold said the act of chewing really helps
For
us
some people,
feel.
it's the only way they have time, like at work, to get their
Yeah.
volume of greens
So
in.
what I say is we are all an experiment of one, and do what works for you. So if smoothies are a way that you can get in your greens and you're making them more greens and less fruit, then go for it. If you don't have weight to lose and you can have smoothies and maintain your weight, then, you know, that's fantastic. I mean, I believe in results. So if you're happy with your results and you're doing well, then go for it.
Mary Jo asked if you and I have ever tried sprouting. No, we haven't. We haven't had enough time, bandwidth to experiment with that sort of thing. We are curious about it.
I've done some like bean sprouts and
Yeah.
alfalfa
Living
sprouts.
in the jars, but
I've
yeah.
done that in some jars before, but I just don't have time right now.
Yeah, so they're good, but it's,
Yeah, they're fantastic, and it increases the nutrition of things. And sometimes I will buy some sprouted legumes or, you know, different things. I'll buy them already sprouted because I just don't have time to babysit them.
Okay.
But I think it's great, and if you have time to do it because it's very wonderful nutritionally.
I'm scanning for question marks. Gina was asking if you hit a plateau like Chef AJ, or did you lose more consistently? Does one of your videos kind of...
I don't think I talk about it.
that.
Am I all crooked? I don't, you know, I honestly don't. I don't remember hitting a plateau at any point.
You just had that period when you were getting diagnosed with the...
Well, I gained weight then. I started to, you know, I was thin, and
So
then
technically it wasn't a plateau.
that wasn't a plateau. I started gaining weight when my thyroid started malfunctioning. But, you know, I mean, it was 5 years ago, and I did not like keep a record of how the weight loss was going or anything.
So once you went plant-based, it started stepping down.
Yes. Well, once I went on Chef AJ's program in 2015, my weight loss was slow because, you know, I'm hypothyroid. I just, even on levothyroxine, I gain weight really easily and I lose weight very slowly. And so it was slow. I don't remember hitting a plateau, but you know, I was just so happy that I could eat starch, and I loved all the food I was eating. I really wasn't worried about how fast or slow my weight loss was.
If you're new to this whole food plant-based lifestyle and are exploring, you know, watching us and learning a bit about what it's about, I did put a link in the show notes to Chef AJ's current weight loss program, Feel Fabulous Over 40, and she has a 2-week trial on that,
Yes.
I think. So anyway, there is a resource link here if that's a goal of yours, where there's a comprehensive program to help people out. So
yeah, and try it for 2 weeks for free because the resources on there are phenomenal. She did not have that site when I was doing her program. We just had a private Facebook group that you know, we had the videos that we watched on our own at home and that kind of thing. But it's a more comprehensive program now. It's online, but there is a private Facebook group that goes with that program, and so that gives you an instant community, which community is really important, especially if you don't know anybody where you live who's eating the same way that you are.
Gina's asking a follow-up question on the plateau, and I answered her in text, not correctly necessarily, but for people that need to break a plateau, you know, like I guess you would say, eating the almonds for some people, we've had discussions and people have cut out almonds and broke a plateau. People were eating a little bit of tofu and cut the tofu out and broke a plateau.
Yeah, if you're having a plateau, up your intake of non-starchy vegetables, because that will crowd out the higher calorie density foods, and you should be able to break your plateau.
Yeah, in our local weight loss, in-person weight loss classes that we did here, nuts came up as a recurring theme for people. We're having a little, you know, consistent, not large servings, but consistent servings of more nuts than would facilitate weight loss. So,
and little, you know, just a little bit here and there can make a big difference because, you know, look at the 400 calories of nut butter. or the 400 calories of maple syrup. There's some high calorie density foods that even just a little bit every day can add up and make a big difference. And for some people, their body just gets to a certain point and they do have a plateau and it pauses for a while. My friend Shada in Southern California, who has Healthy Cooking with Shada, I think her plateau when she was losing over 100 pounds lasted for like 7 months, but she was actually getting smaller during that time. You know, she was losing some inches, but it wasn't showing up on the scale. So I would just eat more non-starchy vegetables, and I would start my day in a savory way and start with the non-starchy vegetables, especially dark leafy greens, because the dark leafy greens have a compound in them called thylakoids. And Dr. Greger talks about thylakoids in his new book, How Not to Diet. And they create a loss of, not a loss of appetite. They work like an appetite suppressant,
Yeah, okay.
And they also work on curbing cravings. So he talks about it in his new book, and this is one of the principles of Chef AJ's program, is that you start your day in a savory way. So it can be cooked non-starchy vegetables, or it can be raw non-starchy vegetables, but not a smoothie for her program. She wants you to chew the food, because the chewing slows you down and creates satiety.
DLR Cribbage was asking, what role does exercise play in weight loss? We have stated before on this channel that, and I don't remember where we heard it first, but you can't outrun your fork. So eating a whole food plant-based diet left of the red line, Chef AJ's red line, in the low calorie density, you will lose weight without the exercise, but the exercise does invigorate you. It keeps your energy level up. You are actually healthier mentally with the morning exercise.
And it's good for your cardiovascular system. So of course, you know, it's important to move. And for some people who have a lot of weight to lose, they might only be able to walk. Walking is a fantastic exercise. So move however you can. You know, we wear our little fitness watches. If you have any kind of a pedometer, just try to increase your steps every day with perhaps a 10,000 steps a day goal, and work on that. It's great to do some strength training.
It takes a dedicated walk to pull that up. You have to walk on purpose and
do
go
have,
for a walk to
you
get that
do
kind
have
of
to
steps
make
in.
that happen. So absolutely, exercise is fantastic. Some people are not at a point where they can do a lot of exercise, but movement in whatever form you can do is wonderful.
Did I already ask you about the salad dressing?
Yeah, creamy balsamic dressing on the blog. Google it. We also have a YouTube channel, and when you subscribe, a YouTube video. Yeah, gee, you have a YouTube channel.
Surprise! They're on it right now. And so are you. Wow, what a coincidence.
What a coincidence. We have a YouTube video showing how to make that dressing. And when you subscribe to the blog Nutmeg Notebook, which is free to subscribe to the blog, you get a link to the strawberry version of the creamy balsamic, which is delicious right now with the fresh strawberries.
Okay.
We also love flavored vinegars on our salads. Salsa makes a great dressing as well. So does hummus. You can take hummus and thin it with a little bit of lemon juice, add some fresh dill to it. That makes a wonderful dressing.
Yeah, watch the All About Vinegars video. And you find that just by being going to the Nutmeg Notebook YouTube channel, and in the search box, just type in vinegar. On that note, we've talked several times in the past about the search engine on the blog that, you know, you can just type in oat groats or brown rice or grapes or salad, you know, and everything will come up. But or if you go to Google and Google Nutmeg Notebook or Tami Kramer, a bunch of stuff comes up. But to really drill into content of the Nutmeg Notebook channel, for instance, if you're wondering about salad dressing, you get on the Nutmeg Notebook channel and go to the search bar, and it's going to search in depth within the channel. Google, you all know, is, I think, the biggest search engine on the planet. And they happen to own YouTube, which is also a search engine. It happens to be like the second most powerful search engine on the planet. So when you go into Nutmeg Notebook, you can put in just groats or chickpeas or apples or whatever you're wondering how to cook.
Well,
had a question this week about.
I think it's better to go to Google and do a search on Google, like let's say quinoa banana oat muffins, Nutmeg Notebook. That's a better search engine than the search box on the blog.
Okay, I'm talking about YouTube, which is the Google. I'm talking about the search box on the Nutmeg Notebook YouTube channel. I'm not talking about the blog.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I had a question this week about potatoes. What temperature do we bake the potatoes at in the oven, pre-bake them, and then what temperature, how long do we cook them in the air fryer to turn them into dessert? And we just happened to have a video all about that. And so
about each.
So I answered the lady's question by going onto the channel, searching potatoes, finding that video, and copying the link and then sending it to her. Now she had no way of knowing that we had a video exactly answering her question. But I encourage any question you have about the plant-based. There's quite a few videos in there now. So probably there's going to be an answer in there. And if there's not one within Nutmeg Notebook, then use Google at large.
Yeah, and we have a video on if you're going SOS free, salt, oil, sugar free, how to cook SOS free and what we use to season our food with. We have a video all about that as well. There's a lot, it's a learning curve. So when you first adopt this lifestyle, there is so much new information to digest and learn. So don't beat yourself up. Take it a step at a time and just keep making improvements as you go. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be making progress.
Scott says that it's not vegan pho, that it's pho vegan.
Pho vegan, thank you.
Okay. I think this got answered. The green vegetable behind the onion in the wooden bowl, those big leaves, that got answered.
Oh, somebody answered.
Yeah. I just forgot what it was.
Collard greens.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'll either chop them up and put them in a saute like this, or I might steam them and then stuff them with like hummus and quinoa and a bunch of raw vegetables, and then make a wrap out of them.
Okay, Kelly Volmer's asking, what about popcorn in the air popper?
Yeah, well, if you can eat a small amount of it and that works for you, go ahead. I did not have any popcorn during the time that I was losing weight, but every once in a while we will pop some popcorn. Usually if our oldest granddaughter is here, because she likes it, and we'll have a small bowl. It's for some people it's a trigger food, especially if they put salt on it. We don't salt ours, so we don't put anything on it. We just eat it plain. But it is more calorically dense than if you were eating the corn on the cob, let's say. And I can't remember at this moment what the calorie density is of popcorn. But if it works for you to have a little bit of it and you're not eating a large quantity and it doesn't make you want to have more, then, you're an experiment of one. If it works for you, go ahead and have it.
Charlotte is asking what vegan restaurant makes your dressing. A correction on that, they're not actually making a dressing.
They're not anymore.
They've adjusted the recipe of their sauce in their
that's
in the stir fry.
No, I was talking about how Nectar Cafe was offering our dressing before the pandemic. But they have a limited menu now, and so they won't be offering it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That was Nectar Cafe up in Auburn had it at one time.
All right, I missed that part.
But they have vinegar. If you order a salad there, you can just get balsamic vinegar, or they have a really good salsa, and you could get the salsa and put the salsa on a salad. But the best thing at Nectar Cafe in Auburn are their tacos.
ML is asking, I always thought you need fat to absorb D3. Do you know if eating only a tablespoon of flaxseed is enough to help with D3 absorption?
That would be a great thing to look up on Dr. Greger's website, nutritionfacts.org. So I don't have the answer for you for that. But I know that Dr. Esselstyn recommends for his heart patients that they eat 6 fistfuls of dark leafy greens a day, and they eat a very low-fat diet for their heart disease. And so he's not worried about the absorption of the nutrients for them, but I can't answer that. So
Yeah, for ourselves, we're adding flaxseed and chia seed and hemp seed and that stuff to our muffins and my morning oats, and we're eating those things, but
yeah, in different ways.
But Dr. Greger would be a more of a scientific resource answer
Yeah.
on that.
And you have to remember to what Chef AJ says, don't major in minor issues. We eat such a stellar diet. We eat such huge volumes of nutrient-dense foods every day. I know in one of Dr. Greger's videos, and he was answering somebody's question about, what if, steaming the broccoli versus microwaving it, if one is better than the other. And he was like, if you lose a few nutrients, just eat another mouthful of broccoli.
Yeah.
He was like, if you're worried about it, just eat another mouthful. And I loved that.
Make up the difference.
But I know that, we do get concerned because we read all these things and then we're trying to do everything perfectly. And so I totally get it. But I just don't get too concerned and worried about, somebody tell me how many nutrients am I missing if I don't have fat with my salad, because I'm eating a pound of salad.
But there's fat in your greens too.
But there's fat in the greens too. But,
Okay.
But I understand the question.
Yeah, on the vitamin D, I'm not giving any medical advice, but what the comment that my doctor made to me is just assume that everybody in the U.S. and other countries is low on vitamin D, and if you have access to a supplement that is or has vitamin D in it, then you should probably take it, because in today's society, everybody's low on vitamin D. That's just kind of a universal thing.
And you can schedule 30-minute appointments with the doctors at True North Health Center in Santa Rosa. And then last week we posted a link. There's another new plant-based group of doctors that are scheduling appointments, and I think appointments are available in about 30 states, because the doctors has to be licensed.
That'll be in the show notes of last week's live number 48.
Yeah, and so that's a great question to ask of a plant-based doctor, for your individual needs, is to consult with a plant-based doctor and find out what they would recommend for you. I too am low on vitamin D, and I'm taking bigger doses of it right now per my doctor's instructions. So
Tiffany was asking, do we have a target time to cut off eating in the evening? The short answer is yes. We try to not be eating anything past 7 o'clock. Usually we achieve that. Sometimes our afternoons run late into our evenings, and we don't even start dinner till...
Yeah, sometimes I don't get home from our daughter's house till 6 or 6:30, and so sometimes it's like 7:15 before I'm done.
There's a number of hours recommendation after to stop eating 3 hours before you go to bed.
At least, yeah.
So the cop out if you eat late is just to stay up later, but then that's eating into your sleep time, which is another parameter that we're supposed to be conscious of. So that could backfire on you quickly.
That could backfire too.
So, but most of the time, we try to be done by 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
With eating, I'm looking at the clock at 6:30, and I'm finishing my chopped salad and going, okay, I wonder if I have time to get some grapes or a little bit of dessert oats in before.
And a lot of times we're just too full after eating all the veggies.
Dessert's
and
not
our
always
starch.
wanted.
Yeah, like sometimes we will think we're going to have dessert, but then we won't have enough room for it because this food is so filling.
Kelly is wondering, do you have a brothy recipe on the blog?
I don't.
I can't think of one.
I can't think of one right now. So, I'll just make like a brothy vegetable soup. Oh, I guess that winter vegetable soup is brothy. The winter vegetable soup is. And it has beans in it, and you can leave the beans out if you want. But sometimes I'll just do a clean out the refrigerator kind of vegetable soup. So, carrots, onions, garlic, potatoes,
My
whatever.
steamed vegetable soup, since I use the pot liquor and dump that 2 cups water back into my steamed vegetable soup, is kind of a brothy
It
meal.
is.
I don't always drink all the broth, but
And Chef AJ has one called Garlic Lovers Soup, and it's really heavy on the garlic, but has tomatoes in it and a lot of vegetables. And that's a very brothy soup that's really good, and it doesn't have any starch in it. And so, and then you can add your own seasonings, like you can add Italian, or you can make it Mexican, or whatever you want. So, and I think that's on a YouTube video that she has, Garlic Lovers Soup.
so you can Google Chef AJ Garlic Lovers Soup.
YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, Martha S. has a very good question here. Does sequencing apply to the sequence of meals, not just sequence of foods within a meal? Is there any advantage to eating 1 pound of salad for lunch instead of having it for dinner?
Oh, no, you need to have vegetables at every meal.
At the front end of every meal.
For weight loss. Yes,
Okay.
at the front. You should
But
have...
there's no gain in sequencing. Well, you're not going to have a vegetable lunch and then do an all-starch dinner. You're going to have vegetables at the beginning
Yeah,
of
you
your
need
dinner.
to have vegetables and starch at every meal, because you need the vegetables to activate the stretch receptors. You need the dark leafy greens in order to take advantage of the thylakoids to suppress the appetite and curb cravings. And then you need the starch in order to feel full to make it to the next meal, so that you're not snacking in between meals. And so, but some of the doctors say that we should have our bigger meals earlier in the day. We should be eating breakfast and lunch bigger, and dinner should be smaller. So I've never been able to actually accomplish that. But I also think, try what works for you. Now, for weight loss, you want to start with your non-starchy vegetables first, and then have your starch. But, I make my big chopped salad at lunch, and I eat my starch with it. But also, I'm not trying to lose weight. So the thing is, experiment and see what works for you. But I have pretty much figured out like how much I can eat at lunch on any given day. And I just do pretty much the same thing every day.
Margot Tobias is asking here a question about using the Chef AJ's blend from local spiceries, red chili blend. How much should she use in a red chili recipe? Does it replace all the spices?
Yeah, I don't know, because I've never bought it.
Nick crafted that with her, so I'd say give a call and talk.
Look on the website, or it should tell on it. I would think it would say on it how much you use of it. Yeah, I've never bought that, so I don't know, because I just make up my own mixes, and so I don't know.
Okay.
I had that in my pile of questions.
Okay. Let's see.
And if you asked us some questions throughout the week, I've saved those up. But we wanted to answer all the questions about the subject today.
We'll circle back around to those.
Yeah.
We had this earlier this week. What's the story behind being called Nutmeg Notebook?
Yeah. So just when I started the blog in, was it 2009? Mm-hmm. We were trying to think of a name. I wasn't plant-based at that time, and we were just trying to think of a name. And so our daughter said, well, let's just, brainstorm, and let's just make a list of all the things that you like. And I had recently discovered back then buying whole nutmeg and freshly grating it. And so that was one of the things that we put down. And then I do something that my grandmother did. My grandmother kept a lot of recipes in notebooks, and I keep notebooks, and I, especially when I'm creating recipes, and I will do all my recipe notes in notebook. And so we were just trying different combinations of names, and we don't even remember who came up with it at this point. But it sounded cute. Nutmeg Notebook sounded cute, and so we said, let's go with that, because it sounded warm and inviting, and it sounded nice.
Okay.
And has nothing to do with being plant-based. But thank goodness it is plant-based.
All right. I had a question, then I lost it. Oh, Tiffany is asking, how my birthday went on. It was earlier this month, and
June 1st.
It was on a Monday, a day that we help watch our grandkids over at my daughter's house, and our little 4-year-old Sweet Pea, as she always does, sat in my lap, and my daughter made a plant-based dessert cake / big brownie for me with 1 candle in it, because we don't need to count all of my candles. And so Sweet Pea sat in my lap, and they sang happy birthday, and that candle was out before I could blink.
Didn't even have a chance
I didn't have
to blow.
a chance, because she's all about cake and blowing out the candles. So
She is. And
it was a fabulous day.
yeah,
Anyway, spent
and
with the family.
before his birthday, she had said to me, I'm going to ask, she calls him Lito, I'm going to ask Lito if he's turning 4 like me. And so on his birthday, he was counting for her how old he was. And she was just amazed. Because she can count to like 30 by herself right now. But when he got to the end of counting, she said, wow, Lito.
That's a lot of old.
That's a lot of old.
It was too funny.
It was great. It was a precious moment.
Let's see.
So it was a good birthday. He had a good birthday. The kids were really loving on him that day.
Carol G asks, what can you do if you feel your stretch receptors don't work? When you eat enough salad, you get full. My lunch, I feel, when I eat my big batch of steamed vegetables for lunch, physically, I get full to where my stomach is sticking out. So I know I'm done, but I get satiated too. So
yeah, I don't know. I've not talked to anyone who's had that problem, but I would say, you could talk to one of the plant-based doctors that specializes in weight loss and see what they say. Or Dr. Doug Lisle, who wrote The Pleasure Trap. He does online over-the-phone consultations, and so does, what is her first name? Hawk, that's
Jen.
working, Jen Hawk. And so if you go to his website, which is, help me with the name of his website.
I don't know.
I just lost it. I
Google
know Tiffany or somebody will know.
Google Dr. Doug Lisle, yeah.
esteemdynamics.com, I believe, is the name
Okay.
of his website. And you can actually book appointments on there, and you can book a 30-minute appointment. And they are both absolutely fabulous experts at helping people to lose weight and overcome obstacles. And so I'm sure that they would be able to offer you some advice on how to deal with that. But I just don't know. I don't have experience with that, so I don't know.
Nancy Tuff was asking, how much fruit should you eat just starting Chef AJ's plan?
Yeah, about 2 fruits a day is kind of what she recommends, and that Dr. McDougall in his maximum weight loss plan recommend, like having 2 fruits a day. And because the bulk of your calories should be coming from your non-starchy vegetables and then your starch. Because, people can get carried away with the fruit, especially the tropical fruits, the bananas, the pineapple, the mango. Those are very sweet. They're very high in sugar, and it's very easy to overeat on them. So for some people, it's better to stick with the berries. The berries are lower calorie density and lower sugar.
Isabella Twardowski wants to know how far apart do you space your meals, and do you eat in between meals?
We try not to eat in between meals. We're usually too busy and don't have time. Occasionally, though, we will eat a potato or a piece of fruit.
If we're doing something and
we're not going to be able to get to a meal
on time, then we'll just grab a potato.
If you're eating enough food at your meal and enough starch, you shouldn't need to eat in between meals, is kind of the theory. But we're all individual, and it depends on your own body chemistry. So, but if you are going to have a snack, it should be a whole food, and it shouldn't be like, I want to say, like a treat. It shouldn't be a baked item or more of a dessert item. It should be fruits or vegetables.
Tiffany,
Like this would be a great snack. Or, you know, even a little bit of hummus with some raw vegetables would be good.
Tiffany's wondering when we're going to be having the aprons available. I have the lady's card up on my desk, but we haven't talked to her since before the pandemic hit.
We don't even know if she's open.
Yeah, so
We'll have to make a call and
that's
see.
on kind of the longer term to-do list. So, yeah, merch.
Merch.
Okay, there was something about, do you have anything on the website for eggplant and asparagus on the blog?
I don't think I do.
Recipes for eggplant and asparagus.
I don't think I do. So,
The only thing on asparagus is you did some in the veggie air fried video 2 years ago. And
Yeah.
they're just hot and air fried.
yeah,
And you're still
we
doing
just
that.
yeah we love them just plain in the air fryer, just to heat them up enough to make them kind of al dente, and that's how we eat them most of the time. You know, once you've been eating this way for a long time, you just really enjoy the vegetables without too much done to them, because you can taste everything in them so much better than you could when you first started.
Anonymous 65 is asking exactly how do you incorporate vegetables into your breakfast?
Yeah, so this on Chef AJ's plan, this would be breakfast. Vegetables.
Vegetables are breakfast.
Yeah. So vegetables, she
And-
recommends that you eat 1 to 2 pounds
But that-
of non-starchy vegetables a day. So you have this first, and then you can have some starch.
You thought that sounded unusual when you first heard it.
Well, I
though.
thought it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I just
everybody
thought
runs into that.
Yeah, I thought it was completely crazy. But then when I started doing it, I thought, wow, this is like really amazing. And people in a lot of other countries do have vegetables with their breakfast. So if you have the vegetables first, the thylakoids and the dark leafy greens are going to help suppress your appetite and decrease cravings for the entire rest of the day. And then after you have this, if you're still hungry, then you can move on to your starch. You could have some cooked oats, and I recommend eating the oats cooked rather than like a lot of people make the overnight oats with a lot of fruit and non-dairy plant milk. But I recommend, if you're going to have oats, go for the steel cut oats or the oat groats, because they are in their more whole form and they're going to take longer to metabolize in your system and keep you fuller longer.
Alice Swan, I don't know if you asked this after we covered it, the food density chart from Chef AJ, Google that, Chef AJ calorie density chart. A whole bunch of images will come up for you. It's also on the back of her book, which is also linked in the show notes.
Yeah, you can even print it off the, like, it's on a number of different places that you can find it online. And there's other calorie density charts too. And one thing we didn't talk about is tofu. And tofu actually is in the 400 to 600 calorie density category, but it is higher in fat. And for a lot of people, the tofu can prevent them from losing weight. Tofu, edamame, can prevent them from losing weight. So I didn't eat any tofu while I was in the weight loss phase, but I will have it occasionally now, but not on a regular basis. Like when I make my lasagna a few times a year, that I make a tofu ricotta for that, and I'll have it in that. And it seems like a month or so ago, I ordered something from takeout at a restaurant, and they put fresh tofu in it, and I was like, okay, well, that'll be okay. Oh, sometimes we'll get spring rolls, and it'll
They
have
have a
one
little bit,
piece of
yeah.
tofu in it.
So there's, folks have had a while to be, gazing at the countertop here while we've been talking. So there's a conversation about what are the greens over by the red onions, past the red cabbage.
Yeah, that is the power greens from Costco. So they come in a bag. Do I have?
That's from Jesse, who's bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, that's called Power Greens, and they're already pre-washed, and it's baby spinach, baby kale, and something else. There's 3 different types of greens in there, and I love that because it's super easy to use. And so that's what I use in this mix, and it's a 2.5 pound bag that you can buy there. And I think Whole Foods has one that they call Power Greens also. It's a different brand, but they're organic, and I love those. So, and I like those because unlike some lettuces, if it looks like I'm not going to be able to get those eaten before they start getting limp, then I'll just go ahead and cook them, or I will go ahead and pop them in a freezer bag and I'll just freeze them, because then I can saute them later, or I can chop them up and throw them
For
in
a
some
hot
soup.
breakfast.
And it can be a hot breakfast.
So there's a question from...
And you can make savory oats too. You can cook oats with some water, and then instead of adding fruit to them, you can chop up some spinach, put some sun-dried tomatoes in them. You could add some sauteed onion or garlic, and you can make them savory instead of sweet. When you start out your day with something sweet, it sets you up for wanting more sweet the rest of the day. And that's just, true of people who have trouble losing weight, it seems like.
Marianne Khan has not had asparagus. What flavor family would she expect asparagus? It's got its own very unique...
Yeah, I don't think it tastes like anything else.
Yeah, it's not mild. It's got a very distinctive flavor that's pleasing. But
I don't know.
It doesn't really compare to anything.
I don't think so. Google it and
it's
see.
It's not sharp. It's not bitter.
No, it's not bitter at all.
It's not sour.
I love it.
It's not like rhubarb. It's like sour or.
So I could eat, like, that's a lot. I could eat all of that. I could just cook it in the air fryer, or I could steam it, and I could just sit and munch on all of it. You do have to, you break off the bottom part. So when you bend it, wherever it wants to break, that's
the tough end.
This is the tough end, and we just discard this, and then we cook this. I just put it in
this goes in the mulch pile.
Yeah, and I just put it in my air fryer at 400 degrees for about 6 minutes or so, because I just want it to get just a little bit cooked. But, you can make a cream of asparagus soup. You can do all kinds of things with it, but I like it chopped up in my salads after I've air fried it, or I just like a big pile of it on a plate with my dinner. It's so good.
So yeah, there was a conversation about what the greens are. So
yeah, those are the Power Greens.
Yeah, Nadia said that we were close about the green leaves.
Yeah, those are Power Greens, and then these.
Yeah. Okay, Jesse and Tiffany, thank you for your great troll hunting.
Did we have a lot of trolls today?
They've been a little bit busy, it looks like, yeah.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys stepping in and doing this, especially today, because Tom needed to be behind the camera. Yeah. And so that was really wonderful.
Randy told us she wasn't going to be here this week, I think, so I didn't see. It's been Jesse and Tiffany today. Yeah,
so just, remember calorie density if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're having trouble maintaining your weight. So just adding in the non-starchy vegetables will crowd out those higher calorie density foods, and you will still be full. Dr. Steve Lawenda calls this the magical buffet. And it certainly is, because, look at all the wonderful foods that we get to eat. There not only are the fruits and vegetables that are low calorie density, not only are they low calorie, but they're also nutrient dense. They're the things that we should be eating lots of, because they're so health promoting. And it's good to eat what they call eat the rainbow. So try to eat a wide variety of colors of vegetables, the different colored peppers and having mushrooms and some red onions and the greens, of course, and then some eggplant and some yellow squash and some zucchini and the Brussels sprouts. And, you know, try to eat different colors as well, because we get different nutrients from them. And the darker the pigment, the more nutrients the fruit or vegetable has, they say.
Last question is from Marianne Khan, and she's asking, will eating too many vegetables make you gain weight?
If you're eating non-starchy vegetables,
The answer is no.
the
They will not.
answer is no. You cannot gain weight unless you're pouring oil or butter on the vegetables, but you cannot gain weight by eating the non-starchy vegetables.
Okay. And
They are not going to cause you to gain weight. And Dr. Goldhammer says when he meets somebody who's overweight, he knows that that person is not eating enough non-starchy vegetables. So that's just kind of a good train of thought to think.
Shirley Brown is saying, thanks for all the info. She's 74 years old and just now starting out on a whole food plant-based diet. Makes me think of our friend Al, who started out on his plant-based diet at age 80. And that was 3 years ago. And he is
I think he was 81.
81. He's doing more stuff now and is more active and more energetic and going more places than he could when he was
Younger.
71.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's never too late to.
No, that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
welcome to the
That
wonderful
way you
world
can have,
of plants.
yeah, an active retired years. So
Yeah.
okay, okay. Scott says
So-
thank you and for a great episode.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us, Scott. We
Yeah.
missed seeing
So
you.
if you haven't done so, throw us. I guess you can only do one thumbs up.
Yeah, but give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, and
It helps our ratings on YouTube.
so
And we got 2 thumbs down. So give us a thumbs up to counter
it
those 2
upsets
thumbs
the
down.
trolls when we delete them. They have to come back and do a thumbs down.
And share this video if you found this to be helpful, if you belong to any plant-based Facebook groups, or put it on your personal Facebook page and help us reach more people with the information that we shared with you today. We would really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed to Nutmeg Notebook, hop on over there and subscribe.
Oh, yeah, and let me know, even if you send an email to Tom at Nutmeg Notebook or leave a comment below this. I have been doing a email to that Nutmeg Notebook mailing list that we have when you sign up to subscribe to the blog. I've been sending that out to people, an hour to 3 hours before the live to remind you that we're going live today. Is that helpful? Are you getting them in time? I thought if I do it the day before,
You
then
might forget.
people are going to forget, and that I should just do it a couple hours before as a kind of a little last minute reminder. So are those helpful emails or are they annoying? I'm just curious if they're having the desired effect so far as giving you a heads up to our live. I try to do them after we know what the content's going to be. We don't always know that the day before. So
No, in fact, we decided this morning.
Are they
our week is
worthwhile
so
sending
busy.
the day of? Because I don't want to spam up your email in basket. So Jacqueline says yes, that they are helpful.
Yeah,
Okay.
people are saying yes, email reminder.
You like the, okay, so I'll keep doing MailChimp. As Scott says, yes, the timing of the reminder was perfect.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because there's things I sign up to, webinars I sign up for, and they're like 2 or 3 days down. I'll remember that thing is a Thursday at 4 o'clock, and then Friday morning I go, oh man, I didn't even think to go on that webinar I signed up for the afternoon before. So, okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate
Long
you joining
session,
us, and it was a long
lots of
session.
information.
But I hope it was helpful for you. It was something that I've wanted to do for a while. So just because I want to say we've been getting a lot of emails from people wanting to know if we're doing any private coaching, and we are not. We just don't have the time available to do that. So if you need help with losing weight, if you need support, I highly recommend joining Chef AJ's Feel Fabulous Over 40 group, because it is a great support system. I am super impressed with all of the resources that they have on there. Everything from a vault where you can put in your questions and get answers, to weekly recipes and menus and shopping lists. So, and you can try it free for 2 weeks. We don't have an affiliate program with her. I just used her program to lose weight and was very successful with it. And I know lots of other people that did as well. So we highly recommend that. I'm Tami.
And I'm Tom.
And we help you
Get healthy
and stay healthy one meal at a time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys. Have a beautiful week. And we hope to see you. Oh, Tom, are we going to be here next Sunday? Next Sunday's Father's Day.
Well, we don't know.
We don't
We'll have to do
yet.
a Facebook announcement.
Yeah, we'll
Make
do
sure
it.
you're following on Facebook so you'll get the announcement.
Yeah, follow us on Facebook and we'll announce there.
Yeah.
Bye, you guys.